Okay, welcome. So one of the persistent comments I've been getting recently is about students who have uneven or slow single stroke rolls. So hopefully by the end of this single stroke video we can get you on the way to faster and more consistent single stroke rolls. So we're going to start off with the basics of the technique on how to do them. We're going to show you how the pros do it and who's best at it. Definitely from the past there was a good many pros who were very good at singles. And then we're going to move on to some exercises that can hopefully get you on your way. So yeah, let's get started with the video. Okay, so the basics. So obviously a single stroke roll is, as the name suggests, just alternating right and left strokes like this. So obviously there's the notation, so you can play it slowly, using mainly the wrists, or as we'll learn later, you can use your fingers to be producing those faster ones like. Okay, so why is this important? So obviously the single stroke is your foundation for pretty much everything in drumming, from grooves, fills, and all of that sort of stuff. So that being said, let's move on to the next section of how to use your fingers to produce those really fast, quick ones like this. Let's go. Alright, so briefly before I explain the technique to you, I want to kind of explain why using your fingers is important. So, let's say you're sort of trying to play your singles and you're just using your wrists. There's only a certain point to which you can go before you really start to cramp up in that wrist and you start to get tight. One, that's detrimental for your speed, and two, that can really be detrimental for your sort of elbow and joints over a long, prolonged period of time. So I really encourage you at those fast tempos to start relaxing and using those fingers. So yeah, let's get to showing you how to do it. Okay, so I really do think it's best if I bring the camera here to show you how I'm holding the stick before we even start to use the fingers. So as you can see, I'm in the first fulcrum of my index finger. I'm then wrapping the thumb on top. I'm then bringing these fingers down underneath around the stick. They're very loose is the key. They're engaged on the stick, obviously keeping it upwards, but they are very loose. My wrist here is very straight. It's not like this. It's not bent this way or bent this way. You want it quite straight. And then yeah, let's show you how to do the rest of the technique after you've got this sort of grip on the stick. Okay, let's get you started with this technique then. So firstly, get yourself a pad, get yourself a snare, get yourself a floor, and just have your stick over it like this, in the hand position that we practiced. Then I want you to throw the stick at the pad and just let it bounce like this. Almost like just throwing a ball at the ground and letting it die out after bouncing. The whole goal of this technique is to be able to, so almost like bouncing a basketball, just keep the stick going like this. So to start that off, I want you to let the stick bounce like we did at the beginning, and just catch it after a certain number of bounces. So 4, 3, 2, that sort of thing. Then try it with 1. And that movement of your fingers is what's going to help you to continuously bounce the stick. So really spend some time getting comfortable with that. Even try and maybe keep it consistent with a metronome or something like that. But that analogy of bouncing a basketball or bouncing the stick I think is really helpful for some people to learn that technique. Okay, quickly before we move on to the exercises, here are some of the 3 most common mistakes I see people making. So firstly is gripping the stick way too hard. So obviously you're really not going to be able to get any sort of bouncing if you're really gripping the stick. It just doesn't work. You need to be really loose. Secondly, like I said, that's why we got you to practice the bounce, is fighting the bounce. I see people fighting that bounce all the time. You really need to let the stick bounce and just use your fingers to act as a guide for the stick to bounce. And finally is your left hand or right hand, depending on what your dominant hand is, being way too weak. So for all these exercises coming up, I honestly want you to practice your left hand almost twice as much as your dominant hand, and that really helps you to get those sort of even ones instead of your right hand being way faster than your left, as is common with quite a lot of people. So yeah, let's move on to the exercises. Okay, moving on to the exercises. So I'm really going to nail in on this bit because I think the exercises are the most important thing. If you can get comfortable, you've got a set of your own exercises that you do, you can get into a rhythm practicing, and yeah, you can really get good. So starting off, we've got these ones that I call like the group of 8s on each hand. So you start with one group of 8 on this hand, and then one group of 8 on this hand. Then you double it, so 16 on this hand, and then 16 on this hand. And then add another 8, so 24, 24, 32, 32. And you do that all the way up to 6 groups of 8s. So and then on both hands, and then you come all the way back down, so 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. That's a really, really good one for building up that stamina. So if you can do all of those singles on their own, that's really going to build your stamina. So the next one, we've got a group of 8 on one hand, a group of 8 on the other hand, a group of 8 on both hands at the same time, and then we've got 2 groups of 16. So that's okay, next up we've got a really famous one from the film Whiplash. We've got our slow to fast singles. So we're starting off using our wrists, and it's really helping that transition between wrists to finger technique. So that's a really good one. And finally, we've got a sort of half time to double time sort of one. So or so yeah, so of half time to normal time or normal time to double time, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's 4 exercises. I think they're really key. I use all of them. Not every day, but I try and alternate between them to avoid getting bored. And yeah, I would really recommend all of them for different aspects of your singles. Okay, so how can you, as a player, apply all of what we've said in this video to sort of your practice routine? So, if you're a kid or an adult, you can find 5-10 minutes a day, record yourself doing these exercises. Make sure your stick height is sort of even. Make sure your technique's right. And sort of play with a metronome. Try and like build up that speed each week, even 10 BPM per week. That really, really builds up. And yeah, just small amounts of practice per day. Try not to burn yourself out by doing like hours and hours of horrible, boring single stroke practice, because that's really just going to demotivate you. Okay, finally, if you really want some inspiration, here all these drummers on the screen right now are far, far better than I am, and hopefully that can keep you motivated. I'll try and put some specific examples from some ones that I really like. And yeah, I really hope you found some value in this video. I really hope it helped you, and yeah, do check out the other videos, and yeah, have a good one.